Intrepid viewers, I'm doing my best to catch up with some requests from you. Wait till I just check my sound. So I'll just take it up a little bit. Yeah, because every day starts with 97 items of news that rock the world, it is a very hard job, and I'm sure other readers find the same thing. You have a list of what you want to cover, and then something else jumps over the top of it all the time. Now, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary, what's his story? So he's just in charge of taking the sanctions off one of the most bold and well-known oligarchs of Russia, Deripaska. Now, what gives him the authority to do this for a start, So remember Mnuchin, when he was first announced in that role, there was an unfortunate social media moment where he and the trophy wife were at the printing presses watching millions of dollars being printed, and they were one step away from just putting them in their briefcases and going. I mean, they were salivating. It was very unattractive, viewers. Now, Mnuchin's in charge of this. So when the sanctions were put, despite Trump, on the Russian oligarchs, it was a great deal of intelligence had been gathered and a methodology thought out that included the intelligence community and the best forensic financial people. And that was all pushed aside, apparently, by Mnuchin. They just went to the top richest Russians on the Forbes list. It was a very crude mechanism, and it also let a lot of people off the hook. So Deripaska, when he heard he was going to be sanctioned, said, and who did he say it to? This is what is actually more interesting. Who's talking to Deripaska? Presumably Mnuchin. He said, look, I'll divest. It's been my company for 40 years. But look, if my name isn't good for the company, I'll just step aside, as if. It's like Trump setting himself aside from Trump stuff. It's so flagrant, treating us all over the world as if we are as stupid as, in fact, their immediate minions must be, So Mnuchin, quick look at him. If he didn't have such a big job, he'd be boring, but he has a huge job and probably has two jobs because the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, can't stay awake. So he may as well be doing both jobs. Okay, Steve Mnuchin. Oh, I'll tell you what came out. I'm using the Japaridze deck. All right. He gets the 9 of Tides, hopes and wishes. He's on the ascendancy. He's got a great gig. You better believe it. In charge of America's money. But what is happening now for him? Ooh. Ooh-ah. Well, someone asked me in comments what ooh-ah means. It's an Australian expression. Probably Australians under 50 wouldn't even use it. It goes back. But it doesn't have a direct translation. It just means, ooh-ah, oh, not good. You're going to get caught for something, or something is really not wholesome. Ooh-ah. Okay, so he gets an ooh-ah reading. So he starts off with the radiant 9 of Tides, and then the 7 of Fire, walking through the fire. I think this is what is happening now because the Democrats are onto him. Nancy Pelosi said he gave the worst testimony recently, the last day or so, that she'd heard. So that's saying something. Really poor effort, like F. So he flunked that because he's arrogant, like all these guys are. They're so arrogant. Why do I have to speak to these people? Let me get on with ripping off the nation, please. I mean, that's how they think. Then he gets the Ace of Gardens. Now, aces are new projects and initiating new things. So bear in mind, he's just been through the baptism of fire, but it wasn't fiery enough. It certainly didn't squash him. He has no fear. He is continuing business as usual. And this indicates to me he has a big plan. Quite a big plan. I dread to think what that is. Well, he then gets the 5 of fire. This is the skeletons here. It might be him taking on Wilbur Ross in the lunch canteen at the White House or something. I don't know. But it's not a good card for this project. The vibe I'm getting, what I'm hearing is he's much deeper in this than we suspected. He's flown under the radar. He is further in this than we suspected. This is saying to me he's got in bed with the Russians. Much more fully than just doing a deal on the surface here. Is there anything to that? Give me a clarifier on the 5 of fires. Clarifier. Oh, interesting, viewers. The 4 of Winds, this is traditionally the card of retreat. I think he's bitten off more than he can chew. As you may or may not know, dear regular viewers, I sometimes hear things on what they call clairaudio, and I just heard very clearly there's more Russian connections. There's more Russian connections. I think he's one of those guys, he's always been operating up here. The Russians happen to operate on a level that was enticing with more money for things. I think he's a bigger player in the whole stuff that will come out with Mueller too. I haven't given him much of a thought. Keep an eye on Steve Mnuchin. I'm just going to do a quick reading now to catch up on the turtle, Mitch McConnell. I should do a reading on his wife, Elaine Chao, Secretary for Transport, just taken out huge shares, as if she hasn't got one of the world's biggest portfolios anyway, more shares in Wells Fargo. What does she know that's going to happen in her portfolio? You can't look at a single department that isn't riddled with corruption. I don't know how the nation's going to handle this over and above the Mueller stuff. It has to be a complete root and branch overhaul. These disgusting Republicans that are overseeing it all. All right, what's Mitch McConnell's game? He's pulled back. I'm not going to put up anything that the president isn't going to sign. That's not your job, Mitch. Your job is to get the numbers to make sure he bloody signs it. Or maybe I misunderstood his role. But he's just pulled out from this. So what's his game? We know he was upset over, the announcing the Syrian withdrawal by tweet, with Mattis resigning and how he was treated. I think he's genuinely uncomfortable, but that makes it worse, not better, Mitch, when you stand by this authoritarian imbecile. It makes it worse. Who's defending America while you're covering his considerable ass? Not good enough, viewers. Okay, Mitch McConnell. I did a mini reading on him where he turned up in a reading recently. Oh, God. Like he was backing off. And it's hard to imagine because he's such a warhorse. But look at these cards. Okay. All right. He gets the 8 of Tides, the walking away card. Weird. Then he gets a couple of good cards. This is the ace. This is him, I think, will be reinvigorated once this stuff with the shutdown actually comes to some end, God help us all, particularly the federal workers, I'm pleased to see some protests are happening about that. He's going to have a mini resurrection here. He gets the strength card. So combining these two, right, he's thinking of walking away, but he gets, I'm hearing the word resurrection. For a while he'll be back. But look at this. This is the card of jail, apart from other things, the Ace of Swords, dejected figure, but the key's in the lock. I think at a high level, the Republicans are hearing informally more about what is happening with Mueller. They're finally starting to go, oh my God. Excuse me. Whitaker we all saw as going in as acting Attorney General, basically as a plant to get feedback for Trump. What's happening with Mueller, and I think that's exactly what he's done, only he didn't realise himself. None of them realised actually how much dirt Mueller has on a lot of people. So now they've got a line to that they didn't have before. I think that's a good thing. I think they're getting very worried, and I think he's beginning to realise that the connections with the NRA donors, the Mercer stuff, which is part of all that investigation into communications. It's funny, just watching it as someone who's interested, not as a tarot reader. I wouldn't ever see Mitch McConnell resigning or retiring. You know, he just doesn't strike me as that sort at all. But the cards have said twice now. So this is him in the retreat. He's effectively walked away from Trump. I think he's had the conversation in private going, this is on you. Step back, see how far you get without me, right? I think that conversation sort of vibe went on. This is him in retreat. Mini resurrection. And then he'll either be caught in office doing untoward things, or he will finally move away just in time. Okay, now, don't forget, anybody, if you want a personal reading, a general reading, or a past life reading, please get in touch. I love doing them. It's great meeting people. I'm having a screamingly good time meeting you all. So that's it for now. I'm going to read again on the shutdown, maybe later today if I get a chance. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.